Hello and welcome to this overview of the Sapphire Distort Spark for Autodesk Flame. The left viewport shows my batch schematic, the middle shows the current result, and the right shows the context view. I'll drag a Spark node into my tree, load S-Distort from the browser, and set it as my context view. I'll connect my front input and my matte input for the S-Distort node. Now S-Distort is applied with its default settings. The luminance of the matte input defines the thickness of the lens applying the distortion. I'll edit into the effect to examine its parameters. Amount determines the overall intensity of the effect, equivalent to the thickness of the lens applying the distortion. Blur lens applies a blur to the matte input, smoothing the contours of the distortion. Rotate warp changes the direction of the distortion. Relative X and Y controls the amount of warping applied on the X and Y axes. Wrap determines how the boundary areas of the distortion are filled. I'll return to Batch, connect the ripple clip to the matte input of S-Distort, and edit in to examine the variations on the effect. Distort Blur applies blur in addition to the warping, which can be tuned independently. Distort Chroma allows the chroma channels to be distorted independently, simulating chromatic aberration. The steps value increases the color detail used in rendering in order to minimize banding artifacts. Distort RGB allows the RGB channels to be distorted independently. Distort Fine operates at 100 times the detail level of the default, allowing for fine detail tuning on the distortion applied based on the matte clip's luminance. Now I'll return to Batch, where I have a black color source feeding the matte input for a paint node. I'll connect my front clip to the front input. I've enabled the Paint Both option in my paint node, which applies the same paint strokes to the front and the matte. I'll connect the paint node's matte output to the matte input on the Distort node. Now I can paint in the distortion in context. Thanks for watching, and be sure to follow Boris Effects on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with the latest information and training materials on Continuum, Sapphire, Mocha Pro and all of the Boris Effects products.